Hello, everyone. This is New Voices News broadcast. We delve into the increasingly relevant topic of human rights, highlighting their impact on dignity, freedom, and equality in our societies. Recent movements advocating for equality and justice underscore the importance of protecting fundamental rights, including the fight against discrimination and the promotion of free expression. To address these vital issues, our club has launched the long-run Equality Campaign, designed to raise awareness about human rights. We envision a world where these rights are universally upheld, leading to reduced conflict, enhanced social justice, less poverty, greater political stability, and well-being. A commitment to human rights also fosters global cooperation and educational growth. However, achieving these outcomes requires ongoing commitment and collaboration from individuals, communities, and governments worldwide. Our campaign raises awareness and emphasizes the connection between quality of life and equality, advocating for a just society where everyone can lead fulfilling lives. Together, we can strive for a world where equality and human rights are realized for all.
So the Leo Club is a group of young people aged 12 to 30 who passionately serving our community. You get to pick the group of people you want to serve with, and you get to create your own service project. So besides the service project, the Leo Club program provides a lot of opportunities and a lot of training for you to become a greater leader. So come join us and become one of the leaders of our community.
Today, we are thrilled to welcome a very special guest to our studio, PCC Stewart Sherman. Welcome. Dear listeners, allow me to present him to you. Stewart was born in Leicester and began his career training as a chartered surveyor at the College of Estate Management at Reading University. He gained valuable experience while working at the Birmingham Valuation Office, where he was elected as a member of the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. From 1993 to 1998, Stewart played a significant role in Radio Lollipop at Birmingham's Children's Hospital, focusing on fundraising and broadcasting efforts. In June 1999, he founded Chamberlain's Chartered Surveyors and took on the role of chairperson of the Board of Governors at the Calthorpe Academy, a special school in Highgate, Birmingham. He is also a board member of Openland at LGBT property group operating in the Midlands. Today, Stewart is a professional surveyor and a member of the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. In addition to his surveying career, he is a Lions Program certified instructor and has been actively involved in leadership roles within the Lions Clubs International. His roles include member of the Global Action Team, CA4, CAT Area Leader, Global Membership Team, Coordinator for MD 105 British Isles. Second, Vice District Governor, Virtual Seminar Classroom Leader for 24-25, Chairperson of the MD 105 Foundation Trust, Lions Clubs International Board Appointee 23-24, District Governor elected Seminar Group Leader for 22, 23, 23, 24. Sergeant at Arms for District 105 CW, Secretary of the Birmingham Chinatown Lions. Stewart's commitment to his professional field and community service showcases his dedication to making a positive impact in both sectors. Welcome to our broadcast, Stewart. It is so great to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Olga, and thank you for your very kind and thorough introduction.
So let's dive in. What inspired you to join Lions Clubs International?
It's a good question, and it's a question I get asked a lot. I suppose the honest answer is I was asked. Like so many of people that have joined our association, Lions Clubs, I was asked by a friend of mine to join. I'd seen a little bit of what they'd done, so I was invited to a meeting. But I suppose what clinched the deal for me was the principle of paying to volunteer. I like the fact that I pay, not a lot, but a little bit to be a volunteer. And it means that if people entrust me or my club or our association with their hard-earned, hard-worked-for money, they know that it is being looked after. And they know that every penny that Lions International raises, due to our history and our huge number of members, all of that money is spent. We don't have an expensive chief executive and all that kind of thing. And I suppose that's something that I hold very dear and has continued, well, stood by my side as I've travelled on my journey with the association.
So, connecting to the previous question, can you share a memorable experience from your time as a Lion that exemplifies the spirit of service?
Well, that's an easy one. And to be honest, I know we only have a certain amount of time. I could talk about that all evening, in fact, into tomorrow, probably. But I suppose my first experience, my club is based in Chinatown in Birmingham, as you said in my introduction. And so we work a lot with the Chinese community, many of whom were not born in the UK, but have come here and brought up their families here. And we try and help them integrate into the community here. And obviously their needs are different. Sometimes just language can be an issue as well as anything else. So pre-COVID, we had a couple of health awareness days for the members of the Chinese elder community to talk to them about the usual kind of stuff, diabetes, health awareness. And we had about 150 lions in, not lions, members of the elderly community in the room with some lions, and we were translating. We were presenting in English and in Mandarin and in Cantonese. And I need some help for that because my Mandarin and Cantonese is not so good. And we had a few health specialists in the room, and somebody remarked that not a single person out of the 150 had a hearing aid. And the odds of none of them needing a hearing aid were very low. So actually, when we held the next event 6 months later, we brought along a hearing specialist because they just weren't aware that, firstly, they had a problem because we're all proud and we don't like to, I wear glasses now. I didn't used to. We don't like that kind of thing. But it turned out that over 40 of the 150 had quite serious hearing problems. And getting them a hearing aid was really easy because of our fantastic health service here in the UK. But it's one of those things that we hadn't thought about. We were talking about healthy living and food and diabetes and exercise and Tai Chi. But what we hadn't thought about was hearing. So as a result of the second one of those events, over 40 people in the room can suddenly hear, and they could hear their partners, their children, their grandchildren. For me, a real game changer, a fantastic event.
So important. Expanding further, how does Lions Clubs International differentiate itself from other service organizations?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't know too much about other service organizations because I'm a Lion and I'm a very proud Lion and I have been for just over 12 years. But what I see in Lions is heart. I suppose that would be the simplest way to put it, is I see heart. And I think it's our flexibility and our ability to serve our community as it needs. And I think that's sometimes something we're not good enough at expressing and sharing with the rest of the world. The needs of my community here in Birmingham in the UK are completely different of the needs of a community in Ghana, for example. And I think, of course, and in Greece and in Europe, every community has a different need. And I think what Lions offers is that flexibility, is to look at your community and say, what do they need? And I think that's really, really important, because if you try and do the same thing for communities around the world, it's never going to work. It's never going to work, because your community, Olga, and my community, they are completely different. And of course, therefore, their needs are different. So I think and I think the other thing is the ability to act quickly. Often things are run by committees, and of course in Lions we have lots of committees. Olga, I'm sure you're on plenty. I know that I am. But I think it's that ability to respond quickly. And I'll give you a quick example, if I may. 2 weeks ago, my club was made aware of some Ukrainian refugees coming into the city. They'd been provided with accommodation and food and, schooling for the children. But what they hadn't been provided with was any clothing at all. So they only had the clothes on their back, and obviously winter's coming. Our winter here is not as bad as cold as it would be in Ukraine. But within 48 hours, my club was able to go and collect clothes and deliver them. No discussion, no debate, no permission has to be sought somewhere else in the association. The club makes the decision and off we go. And those clothes were delivered within 48 hours. And it's just that ability to be really quick. And again, other service associations have their pluses, but as I say, I'm a Lion through and through.
We have one thing in common. All Lions, heart.
Absolutely.
I will agree with this.
Good.
So to delve deeper into the topic, in your opinion, what has been the most impactful project undertaken by Lions International as a whole? Because our listeners want to know, and some of them are Lions, some not. That's why it's good to tell them.
Well, the amazing thing about Lions is, even in the 10 minutes we've been chatting already, people will have been served by Lions all around the world. Lions are serving 24/7, 365 days of the year. And I don't know how many people have been served in that time, but you and I both know that there are Lions on the ground making an impact. And sometimes the smallest things can actually make the biggest difference. But if we're talking about the association as a whole, most people would think of Lions and they would think of vision. They would think of our eyes. And I have some figures, because I'm a bit of a Lions nerd and I do like to have figures to hand. But next year, it'll be 100 years since Helen Keller challenged the Lions to become the Knights of the Blind. For those listeners that aren't aware, Helen Keller was a blind and deaf Hollywood actress, and she was invited to speak at the Lions Club's International Convention in 1925, so 100 years ago next year. And being a lady who was partially sighted, she said to the Lions, we need help. As people who are visually impaired or have no vision at all, we need help. It changed the association forever. And a lot of the recognition that Lions gets, wherever you are in the world, is about vision, whether it's recycling spectacles and getting them to those in need. But I did a little bit of research. So in the since our association has been going, we've provided 7.6 million cataract surgeries. That is 7.6 million people in the world who had no vision and now have vision. And a while ago, our foundation, which I'm very proud to be associated with, launched a campaign called Sight First. And they've since launched other campaigns, but this was the first one. And that has empowered or changed the lives of 30 million people. Again, some in bigger ways. Cataract operations we've already mentioned. But just that one pair of spectacles, that one pair of lenses like I'm wearing and like you're wearing, to actually see a child or an adult given a pair of spectacles, who has no way of getting them themselves, and being able to see their family for the first time, their home for the first time, their partner for the first time, to me, that is absolutely life-changing. And it is such a small and easy thing to do. And I'd implore every listener to, if they see an old pair of spectacles, collect them. There will be a lion near you that will gladly take them from you. The numbers are huge. It's very hard to imagine 30 million people. It's half the population of the United Kingdom where I am. But if you ever get the chance to put a pair of spectacles on somebody that needs them, I can assure you it will absolutely change your life.
Exactly. In light of what we've discussed, how has your involvement, in Lions Clubs International influenced your personal and professional life?
Beyond measure would be a word, but I will give you a little more detail. So as I said earlier, I've just celebrated my 12th anniversary of being a Lion. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm a new boy, really. But I've been very lucky in that I found an amazing club who I've learned a lot from. And throughout my journey, I've had mentors. But what it's taught me is a number of things. But the first thing is that I had a skill set within me that I had no idea was there. I was mentored by somebody that encouraged me to look at becoming a leader in Lions. And although I've always been chatty and relatively confident, I'd never really thought of me as being a leader, not officially. So I was encouraged to become a district governor, and then I was encouraged to become a trainer, and to then train other Lions and facilitate. Well, I'd never done anything like this before in my life. I was busy doing my job, getting my degree, getting my qualifications. And although I chaired a few meetings in life, I'd never really facilitated in a formal way. And so I was really thrilled to become a certified international trainer for Lions. It's the gold standard. And they teach us to become trainers the Lions way. And leading and facilitating volunteers is a different skill to managing my staff, who of course I pay. And it's a very different relationship. So over the last few years, I've been lucky enough to be a group leader for the district governor elect school. And for those listening who don't know what that is, all the district governors from around the world have a training program, and they get allocated a group leader to help them on their journey and to support them to be the best governors they can be. So I've got to do that. And this year, I'm helping a pilot program regarding second vice district governor training to start their journey earlier. And I suppose my proudest moment so far is that in next month, in fact, 2 weeks tomorrow, I will be flying to Vienna, where I get to facilitate a LCIP, a Lions Certified Instructor Program course. So having qualified in 2019, it's kind of gone full circle, and I now get the chance to share my skills with others. Again, I had no idea that I had this skill within me. Lions found it, Lions nurtured it, and now they found it. I've unleashed it on the world, both personally and professionally. So,
Bravo. Shifting our focus, how is Lions Clubs International adapting to changes in society and the needs of communities?
Well, change is a scary word. None of us, unless I teach a little bit about change, fundamentally as human beings, we don't like change. Olga, if you'd have told me, if we'd have been chatting in 2019 and you'd have told me that we would be conducting a Zoom interview to be broadcast across Europe, I would have looked at you as if to say, oh goodness, I'm going to have to fly somewhere, and oh goodness, that's going to take a lot of time. Well, look at us now. But of course, I think in all of us, the older we get, perhaps the more resistant we get to change. And therefore, Lions is definitely changing, but that change is taking some time. And I'm an optimist by trade. I'm a glass half full kind of a guy. And actually, ironically, pandemic 2020 that so much. So I didn't know what Zoom was prior to then. And I know what it is now. And I think as far as our communities are concerned, our communities are changing. Certainly talking about the UK and Europe, the look of our community is changing. The makeup of them is changing. The demographics changing. Some clubs are very open to that and they're looking at their community. Others are slower to do that and they resist human beings. So I think we have work to do. And I suppose advice would be to any Lion or Lions club is go and look at your community. And does your club reflect your community? Does it, have you had some refugees come to your community? Are they reflected in your club? Are there some other minority groups, the LGBT community? Are they represented in your club? And I think the phrase that I would use, and it's very interesting because I'm part of the LGBT community. I'm a gay man, and in Lions I've been welcomed with open arms. I've had no issues with that at all. But there's a phrase that we use that if you can't see it, you can't be it. And I think that's a really important phrase to take away, is that look at your communities. And Lions, we have to do that. And also you have to do it all the time because the world is changing so quickly. Probably, Olga, in another couple of years, they'll be laughing at us using Zoom because this will be considered old technology. And they'll look at our backgrounds and go, oh, yeah, look, they can do that. And I remember the first Zoom meeting I had, I didn't know how to make the logo the right way around and the writing was the wrong way around. So we have to learn skills, but I think we have to embrace change, but not change for the sake of change. But I think that's the important message that I'd like to share. And just to say, don't be afraid of it, because the first Zoom meeting I went on, I was petrified. And look at me now, and look at us now.
Exactly.
Our environment needs help, so we need human intervention, and that's why we Lions, we will help.
It all began way back 2021 when the typhoon devastated 80% of the reef.
It destroyed the ocean life. So we researched, we asked the help of divers, marine biologists, and we came up with an idea to rehabilitate the corals.
Restoring our coral reef, it's a very difficult task because corals, these are not plants, these are animals, small animals called polyps. And these polyps will put themselves together to become a coral reef.
We researched on what materials to use, what kind of chemicals that might affect or not affect the oceans, and yeah, we did this.
The artificial reef is an original design that consists of 4 modules that are deployed onto the ocean floor. The divers move the sections into place to form a pyramid. Nearby coral is planted on the new structure that over time will continue to grow and thrive. For the Lions that are not scuba divers, coral can be attached to small structures near the shore. Once complete, the divers take these newly seeded reefs into deeper water where they continue to grow.
Our Lions Club create this structure so that we can help the environment.
It is a big thing for us because the Lions provides us the divers, the volunteers, and financial support. There's a huge impact.
We have seen that it grew even like millimeters, but it has grown. So it will take a long time. So we start now for the future to enjoy.
Spread the word, support, and be concerned about our coral reef.
that brings us to the next point regarding our last question. As I already referred, New Voices News Initiative is part of Equality Campaign for Human Rights. Unfortunately, after the pandemic, instead of defining the new normal, we have wars, social conflicts, violence. Do you believe that human rights are more important than ever, and it is imperative that they should be adapted?
Human rights, it is by definition a right that every human should have. But the issue of human rights is complicated because the world is complicated. Now, I think in the Western world, of which we are a part, we consider human rights to be about free speech, the right to identify as you see fit, the right to be safe and secure. But in other parts of the world, human rights means something completely different. I think in some respects, it depends on what you're presented with. And I think in certain parts of the world, you would see your human right as to have a roof over your head, or to have an education, or to have water, fresh, clean water coming out of a tap, and the right to make sure your family is safe. Now, a lot of us in Europe, certainly until recently, took that very much for granted. And of course, sadly, in the last 2.5 years, that has completely been turned on its head. I think in the end that what we need to do is to focus on the right from wrong. And that's what human rights is. We are seeing in the world at the moment, families being torn apart, people not being able to sleep at night for fear of horrendous things happening to them. And obviously we think of Ukraine and we think of what's happening in the Middle East and many other parts of the world as well. And I think that sometimes we sort of state human rights and we don't know quite what it means, because we have, and I would joke about first world problems. Somebody would say, I'm lucky I live in the United Kingdom where it's legal to be a gay man. There are still 58 countries in the world where that is not the case. And I could be arrested for having my husband and expressing my love or affection for him. But if you're sleeping in Gaza tonight or in Ukraine tonight, your human rights priorities are completely different. You want healthcare, you need food, you need water, and you need safety. And I think in the end, as advocates for human rights, which I think as humans we should be, and as lions we certainly should be, we need to make sure sometimes that we prioritize those things into needs first. Because if we're talking about freedom of speech, there would be somebody in one country in the world that says, well, frankly, I don't care about freedom of speech because I haven't got a roof over my head, or I'm worried my house is going to get bombed tonight, or I'm worried that there won't be any water in the tap tomorrow. So advocate, yes, but make sure you advocate with compassion, remembering that some of the problems you might perceive to be a problem, parts of the world would love to have that problem. And I hope that makes sense, but it's something I'm very passionate about. But I think in the end, we respect each other. We respect each other's rights to exist as the way they see it, but as long as they live within the law. And I think sometimes laws are also challenged on the basis of human rights, but maybe that's a debate for another day.
Exactly. So we really thank you. Dear friends, thank you for tuning in today. We appreciate your time and attention. This has been our appointment on Ephesus Radio, and we look forward to connecting with you again soon. Till our next New Voices News, stay safe and take care. Bye-bye.
Searching your heart to find a purpose in your life. What are you looking for? It is a better world. We born to be equal and free, to dream a future unjust is free. This dream will be fulfilled when children belong to a family too, and I'm not hungry too. Here's a lesson that we must live your life depends on it. Don't destroy and punish it. Here's a lesson that we must take home. We are all unique. I am you and you are me. We all have rights on earth, to health, to education, to dignity. Human rights must be protected. We are free to dream, to travel, to speak. Light of justice we must be. We have to have an inner peace. So don't judge me, because I differ. The way I talk, I see, I walk. Open your mind to see how often we say we're all the same, and after we differentiate. After a pandemic there are wars. Think, what future do you want? What we should be looking for is a better future, a better world. Here's a lesson that we should take home.